Hey everyone, it's Karen from Karen's Quilts, Crows and Cardinals blog and Redbird Quilt Co. If you missed video number one for the Moda Bake shop Valentine stitching, you're going to want to find that video in YouTube, or you can go to my blog to look it up. But we're continuing with the quilt top that we are stitching the pretty little Valentine heart. All of the detailed instructions are on modabakeshop.com, or you can go to my blog and get the link from there over to the bake shop. So what we have left to do are 3 more rounds of echo stitching, and then we're going to do some matchstick quilting. So with our echo stitching, what we're going to do is just go 3 times around. It doesn't even matter how close we go to the last set of stitching that we did for the feathers. I just want to show you how I control this as I go around. One great thing about echo stitching around feathers, I call it, you can do a fix-a-flat. If you've got a flat lobe on a feather, well, when you're echo quilting around it, you can fix that flat by just making the echo part be rounded, and I love that. So I call that fix-a-flat. It's just a great way to kind of make nice rounded plumes even after you may have had a flat the original time around. So I'm just going to keep going all the way around this quilt top with some echo stitching, maybe 2 or 3 times, because echoing is a great way of kind of accenting a design. As I need to, I stop. My needle always stops in the down position, and I move my hands, and then I start back up again. Think about changing your machine speed to be a speed that's good for you, so that when you floor the pedal, it's fast enough for you to do your stitching. And those are kind of beginner tips, but I don't worry too much about my stitch length. I don't worry too much about how perfect the echo stitching is, because when this is all done and you look at it on that riding by on a galloping horse, it's going to look just beautiful. So that's the first round of echo stitching. Now, in order to go from one round of echo stitching to another, I'm going to take some lock stitches, and I'm just going to jump away about 1/8 of an inch with my needle up, put my needle back down, some more stitches in place to lock, and then I'm going to get going on the echo again. This time I'm going to come this direction. It doesn't really matter which direction you go. Find what direction is most comfortable for you and your positioning of your hands. You're using your reference marks as I outlined in the Moda Bake shop post. So be sure you get over and check that post out, because that's got all the detail about this stitching, how big the quilt sandwich was, how big the heart was. It's got the heart template, needle, thread, and other great tools that I used in order to prepare the sandwich. I'm making some nice rounded echoes around these feathers. I'm not worried about that I'm echoing the same distance of my last echo. It doesn't matter. It's still going to look beautiful. And I'm twisting my quilt sandwich so that you can see what I'm stitching. I hope that's not too confusing or it doesn't make you dizzy. Alright, echo stitching round number 2, almost done. Down at the bottom it'll be done, and then I'll start the same exact thing one more time. So I want to show you some matchstick quilting. Alright, I'm taking a couple stitches in place, lifting my needle, lifting my foot, moving out another about 1/8 of an inch or so, 1/4 inch maybe, couple stitches in place. Let's go around one more time, because it does a nice beautiful accent. Now I apologize that this thread is really hard to see. It's beautiful for me to look at, but it's really hard for you to look at. One of the woes of recording videos, but I wanted you to see more my hand movement than the way I handle the quilt sandwich than anything else. Stitches aren't necessarily important here. Make some nice rounded echoing on here. We're going down the home stretch. You don't have to go as fast as I'm going. I'm just trying to get this video in for you while my videographer is still here. Okay, I'm almost down to the bottom. Oh wait, I'm not almost down to the bottom. Oh, this is the home stretch. Sorry about that. I had way ahead of myself. Okay, move my hands, get down here and lock this off. Now, I'm all the way around this 3 times. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but now what I want to do is take some matchstick quilting, that's just straight line quilting, out past our 1.5 inch mark. Basically with the thought in mind that you're going to trim around that 1.5 inch mark or someplace outside of it. But take about take plenty of matchstick quilting out past that 1.5 inch mark all the way around the quilt top. Alright, so let's get going. Now the trickiest part of the matchstick quilting is in the corners, because you've got an angle to fill in. And when you matchstick quilt, you're basically just going straight lines in and out all the way around. And you fan out that corner a little bit so that it fills that angle, and then you end up being perpendicular to the sandwich, to the edge of your quilt. And you want to make sure you take it well out past that 1.5 inch mark so you have a place to be able to trim. You want to be able to trim square out there. So don't be stingy about how long your matchstick quilting is. And you know what? I also don't worry about how straight I am. I do like to be perpendicular to the quilt edge. But if I'm at a slight angle, I don't get upset about that. I don't worry about it. It's supposed to be fun. So let's have fun and let's learn while we're doing that. I learn something new every day. Hope you do too. So I'm taking this matchstick quilting well out past my 1.5 inch reference mark. And I'm butting it up against my last echo. Now I'm coming into a corner, so I got to think about fanning it out a little bit here. So I'm going to make it tighter at the top and wider at the bottom to kind of fan it out. So I can, did I say that right? Yeah, I think I said that right. So when you get to the corner, you're almost at you're on the diagonal line, but you're going to round the bend, stretch it out, fan it out. Again, getting well out past that 1.5 inch mark. Now it's easier for me to keep my matchstick straight if I have my quilt top squared up in front of me. So here we go. We're on side number 2 doing matchstick quilting. How's my battery holding up, videographer? I apologize for having 2 videos, but I'm afraid some batteries in my camera are better than others, and although it was full, it kind of pooped out on me as we went. So matchstick quilting, just go up and down, perpendicular to the quilt edge. And you're coming all the way up against that last echo stitch that you did. How about this beautiful Moda grunge fabric? It is like my favorite. If you look at the things that I make, I love to work with grunge. It's solid enough to show off your stitches, but the grunge is sassy enough to kind of give things a little beautiful color and texture, and just kind of something different, make us different than everybody else. I love grunge. And it comes in so many colors. That's pretty awesome too. Okay, I've got 3 corners done, and I'm heading down side number 3 with my matchstick quilting. So I'm just going to continue this process to the very end, and when I finish, I'm going to try to square this piece up. And you know, I made mine square. I cut mine about 10 3/4 inch square and then put a binding on it. But you don't have to cut it square if you don't want to. You can cut through the middle of your matchstick quilting, cut it at a shape and a size that looks good to your eye. I then cut a really skinny little binding. I think I did a 1.5 inch folded binding, and put a mini thin binding on to match my little mini quilt, which ended up being about, like I said, about 10 3/4 inches square on my sample. You can make yours bigger from the very beginning if you want. Okay, I'm coming into a corner, so I gotta make things a little wider here at the bottom, a little narrower at the top, so that I'm kind of running at a diagonal when I get to that corner, that on point corner. Okay, we're down the home stretch. And I'm just going back and forth with my matchstick. And you know what? The top of your matchstick that matches the echo up at the echo quilting end, it doesn't matter if it's rounded or pointed. It'll still look beautiful when you're done. So just, I don't know, just kind of find your own design, your own style there. I think it's important for us to find our own style. I am going well out past that 1.5 inch reference mark, the registration line. And I'm loving the thread and the fabric. Woo, that matchstick was a little more like a crazy 8. Let's try and go straight here. You could do some pretty ribbon candy stitching in here, or match figure 8 stitching if you wanted. That would be pretty too. I think you should do what works for your eye and for your style. All about that. Okay, nearing the end. We just got to make this corner fill in. Going out past your 1.5 inch mark. A good amount though. And then back in. Right there, ending it up. Alright, I'm going to cut my thread out here in my seam allowance. Bring this back, and I just want to tell you I'm probably not going to do it live, but I also have this inside marked. Maybe we could cut. How's that battery looking? Okay, I'm going to keep going then. Let me get this one little echo stitching in the center done. Ooh, I think I would probably use a thread that wasn't so contrasting in here, but I'm going to just go so that I don't have to change my thread and you can see this. You saw what I just did. I brought my bobbin thread to the top and I took a couple stitches in place. Now, one of the things I warned you about on the Moda Bake shop tutorial is that because we don't want to pull, we want to make sure our heart is nice and flat while we're stitching. Otherwise, you end up with like little folded lines in there as you're stitching around it. I'm going to move this pin out of the way just because. And this is fused down, unlike the sample that's on the bake shop. I did fuse this heart down. So I'm going to start in this point, and I'm just going to echo stitch. I'm sorry, yeah, I'm kind of echoing on the inside, but I'm following a mark that I made from a template that's on the Moda Bake shop. I'm going around, I'm going to go around several times actually. I can hear my needle a little unhappy with the fusible. Yeah, that's underneath, and look. So I needed to change my tension and I did not. So I just broke the thread there. I could tell my tension was unhappy, my needle was unhappy because I have a fusible here. So I needed to adjust things and decrease my tension a little bit. I did not do that, so I shredded my thread. I'm going to go ahead and clip this while the video is still going and clip it out underneath as well and rethread this and reduce the tension on my quilt top, on my thread, and that just knotted right up on my needle. There we go. So I cut everything flush, rethreading my machine, getting past that shredded part of the thread, and that was really my bad, because one of the things you got to get used to when you're stitching is when you're changing the thickness of your quilt sandwich or what you're stitching on. You know, your machine tension needs to be adjusted, and your thread is happy at different times with different settings. So in that case, it was really my bad for not changing the tension. I could even feel my needle fussing with me as I went around on the inside echo. So I'm going to reduce that tension a little bit. Here we go. Take a couple stitches in place, kind of right where I was before. I'm getting the cue that my battery's getting low again. So listen, here's the plan. We're going to go around the inside of this. I went just once and I thought I was going to stop, but then I found out I needed to go more. I went 5 or 6 times around here, so plan to do that too, okay? And be sure to get out to modabakeshop.com. The tutorial, the recipe is called Let's Quilt It, a Valentine for You, created by Karen Miller of Redbird Quilt Co. And you can find more details also on my blog, Karen's Quilts, Crows, and Cardinals blog. All of the information is out there, so do jump out there and check it out. Okay, I think I've got to run now, but I'm going to go around here several more times, take some lock stitches, trim my threads, and just be happy with what I have. Thanks for stopping by today, and you have a great day.